Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar will start in 5 minutes, so just 5 minutes to the beginning of the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, the webinar will begin in 4 minutes, so we are just 4 minutes away from the start of the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just 3 minutes away from the start of the webinar. So we'll begin in just 3 minutes' time. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just 2 minutes away, 2 minutes before the start of the webinar. Ladies and gentlemen, we are just 1 minute away, so the webinar will commence in 1 minute's time. Welcome to the webinar. And we have a fabulous session for everyone this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you happen to be. and we are going to be talking about a really important topic, the latest thinking on partner portals. And we have a fabulous panel of real experts who are going to be able to dig into the topic and provide real practical help and guidance. So if we could move on to the next slide. And a reminder, Channel Focus, the event is on the 9th of November in California. If you haven't already registered, click on the button or take a picture of the button, and we really look forward to seeing everyone there. And there will also be the fabulous Women's Leadership Council on the day before the event. So click on that QR code, and we will hope you will join us. Next slide. We want this to be very interactive. There's a lovely chat button down the bottom. So get involved, ask questions, basically make sure that you are talking to the panelists and talking to each other. These webinars have been very interactive over the years. So if we can dispense with the slides, and then I can move on with our introductions. And our first panelist is James Hodgkinson, and he is the SVP of Ecosystems and Partnerships with 360 Insights. James launched his first business at just age 20 and is now a recognized industry leader with more than 2 decades partner engagement and channel automation experience. He was most recently co-founder and CEO of Web Infinity, which was acquired by 360 in 2022. He's an innovative provider of ecosystem portal technology, and he now leads 360 Insights ecosystem strategy, focused on helping the company become a category leader in their sector. So James, give us a quick insight into 360.
Yeah, thanks, Rod. Great to be here. 360 Insights is a company and a project which is brought together a lot of different entrepreneurs and talent. I was part of a long line of acquired companies, and our heritage has been a category leader in incentives management, rewards, and everything in between. We're working on, a strategy of bringing many different pieces of the entire ecosystem management puzzle together, and have some very exciting developments, ongoing around how we want to work not just with our own technologies, but with ecosystem partners and other providers to build, a new level of tooling really for ecosystem and channel professionals. So we've got a lot going on here. I'm very excited to be part of the team and the project, that we're putting together. And, as our CEO likes to say, we're just getting warmed up.
James, thank you very much. And our second panelist is Reagan Wilson, and Reagan is the VP of Go-to-Market and Partner Ecosystems at Spur. She's a passionate partnership and ecosystems ninja with over 20 years experience working in the channel. She's currently the Vice President, as I said, of Go-to-Market and Partner Ecosystems Spur Reply, where she leads the channel ecosystem strategy, automation, architecture, and insights consulting teams. And most people don't know that Reagan is a certified group fitness instructor. She's certified to teach cardio, fuse, cycle, and BARRE. I've never heard of that one, so I think you're going to have to explain that one to everyone, Reagan. So Reagan, tell us a little bit about Spur, but tell us what BARRE is.
So BARRE is a slow and low fitness format where you're working the small muscles. So it's based off of ballet. Some ballet type movements. And Spur, we are your go-to-market ecosystems channel consultancy leader. We are fortunate to partner with these fabulous other panelists. As Rod mentioned, I lead our ecosystems teams, which are made up of our channel strategy and transformation teams, our automation practice, which implements, manages, and optimizes these lovely platforms that you're going to hear about today. And I also have our data and insights team, as well as our engineering and custom dev team. And at Spur, we touch the go-to-market end to end, and we're there to help our clients optimize that go-to-market ecosystem strategy.
Thank you very much. And our third panelist is Dave Taylor, and Dave is the CMO of InPartner. He was the 2016 Utah Business Magazine CXO of the Year, and I believe you've also won a new award recently. He's had 5 successful exits and counting from businesses, so he's a serial entrepreneur, and he was part of the founding team at InPartner. So Dave, give us a brief insight into InPartner.
Serial entrepreneur with an S, not with a C. I have nothing to do with the breakfast foods. I was fortunate to attend one of Rob's in-person events in California last month, where our teams, we were broken up into teams and asked to put together a fictional partner program for a fictional company. And the team that I was assigned to won that. And so, so Rod, I would appreciate it if you'd refer to me from now on the award-winning Dave Taylor, if that's okay. Hey, everybody. It's great to be here. I'm the award-winning CMO, Dave Taylor, at InPartner. And InPartner is the world's #1 vendor of channel management solutions, solutions that help you manage the indirect go-to-market motions that your company may have. #1 in analyst reports, G2. We just did a press release this week. We're #1 in G2 again. We've decided to save money. We're going to start just doing press releases when we're not #1 in G2, just because it happens, a little less often. So exciting to be here. We're fortunate as a vendor to work with great channel partners like Spur. Whenever people work with us, we always encourage them to engage one of our awesome consulting partners to help get things fixed kind of behind the curtain, using technology. So technology is not the only answer, but it's an important answer. It's great to be here.
Thank you, Dave. And our fourth panelist is Harbinder Kira, and he's the CEO and founder of Mind Matrix. He also has over 20 years experience in sales, marketing, and channel enablement, software and solutions. He's provided IT consulting services to Southwest Airlines, Nationwide Insurance, IBM, Siemens, Citibank, among others. He was one of the 3 CEOs to win the CRM Influential Leader Award last year, announced by the reputed Destination CRM magazine for his contribution towards innovative sales and marketing technology. He has an MS in Information Networking from Carnegie Mellon and an MS in Computer Engineering from Florida Atlantic University. Harbinder, tell us a little bit about Mind Matrix.
Thank you, Rod. Nice to meet you virtually. I think we need to change the intro a bit. It's been an old one. So 26 years doing Mind Matrix. This is the company I founded and started, been in a sales ecosystem business. So just to kind of give you a little bit of perspective, if you think about the ecosystem in the PRM world, it's changing. It's no longer one-to-many, a many-to-one relationship. That's really the old way of looking at from a PRM world. It is many-to-many. In order to facilitate co-sell, co-build, Mind Matrix is offering a new next-generation private sales ecosystem platform that supports many-to-many interaction between alliance partners, direct sellers, influencers, partners, all into one platform. So we provide enablement technology, starting from marketing enablement, sales enablement, solution selling, collaboration, and account-based mapping. And that is really the platform that we offer. So doing this for 26 years has been a pretty exciting journey for us. And we work with Reagan Spur Group. And so I'm excited to be here to share our insight. So thank you, Rod.
So let's get cracking. The topic is the latest thinking on partner portals. And let's start with that. And I'll start with you, Reagan, because you have a number of clients out there. What new things, what new capabilities are your clients, and what are their partners demanding from the portal today?
Well, our clients are demanding what the partners need. So it varies from client to client, but what we're seeing is a big ask for a journey or an experience, a guided experience, to be specific. So when a partner logs in, regardless of who they are, or where they are in the program, they need to be able to see a path to success across the various elements they need to complete within the program, whether those are programmatical elements or it's to register a deal, but it's making sure that that partner has a clear understanding as to where they are within the program and what they need to do, and that those things are very easy to do. And those are probably the top things that we're being asked for to implement across these 3 wonderful platforms of the partners that we have on this webinar today. But it really doesn't matter which platform it is, but that's probably the number one thing, is having that guided journey of here are the things, the expectations, the steps along the way that are going to make you successful, making that very, very clear to the partners.
And James, if I can bring you into this, that guided journey, making life easy for the partners, what are the key things we need to think about when we're doing that?
Yeah, I think what I'm starting to see, and it's been slowly moving in this direction and suddenly feels like it's happening at a pace now, is almost less structure and more flexibility. And the traditional definitions and the channel definitions to some extent aren't helping us, in that we've spent a long time in channel software talking about the mechanics of 2-tier reselling, distribution, etc., how it works through VARs, MSPs, all this kind of stuff. Whereas actually, as we start to see this transformation towards ecosystem, it's much more around nuanced motions where it could be non-transactional. I think Harbin had made the point, many-to-many relationships. It's more around co-sell and alliance development. So the onboarding and the guidance isn't simple anymore, in the sense that you can't go through a 30, 60, 90-day type of checklist where each partner is being asked to perform the same steps, get the same number of people trained, because the motions are totally different depending on the nature of the partnership or relationship. And some of these folks don't even see themselves as partners. They're direct sellers, or they're executives at companies looking more strategically at partnering. So I think the responsibility that we now have to sort of take on as technology providers is how to embrace that level of flexibility, and being able to really boil this down to providing exactly what is needed in the specific context of each ecosystem member, whether or not that's internal, external, or somewhere in between, right? So I think that's a market force that's happening, and it's really aligned with this shift where ecosystem and partner strategy is becoming mainstream now, not some department or division that works alongside direct sales. So that's the biggest shift I'm seeing right now.
Dave, what are you guys seeing in partner?
Yeah, probably the biggest shift I think we've seen is, look, I don't mean to downplay the importance of the portal, because it really is the front door to your business. But I think there's a growing recognition that what sits behind the front door is equally, if not more, important. A couple of years ago, I went to New Zealand, and I went to the area where they filmed The Lord of the Rings, and I opened the Hobbit door, into Frodo's house. And I was surprised that it was all movie magic, because it went in 3 feet and there was a dirt wall in front of me. Portals need to be the front door to your business, and they need to look good, and they need to make it easy to do business with you. But if what's inside your portal is a 3-foot gap with a dirt wall behind it, the portal's not going to solve that for you. Get your program set right. Work with consultants like Spur. Work with companies to get your program set right. Get the terms and conditions that people want. Then put a really nice portal front end in front of it, and then you've got the magic going on.
Yeah, Dave's right. The portal platform technology will never make up for an unpolished program, and you cannot automate something that doesn't exist. So if your program isn't right and ready, it doesn't really matter what tech you buy.
Yeah, and what's behind the front door as well, to Dave's point, isn't any one system now. I mean, really, the architecture is the other big shift, because we find increasingly that I think the average is 300 bits of technology running in each enterprise. So when we look at it through the lens of how do you actually support ecosystem motions, it's not just the people on this call who can help you. It's how is the Salesforce or other CRM infrastructure built into that? How is your digital asset management strategy aligned with that? How is your learning and enablement system playing a role? So you realize as well, as we move to this new reality, particularly when you consider some of the systems are multi-party platforms like account mapping technologies or marketplace development platforms, it's all about orchestration. That's where I think portals play a huge role, is how do you manage that complex orchestration in the context of personas that are very different from each other, but it's going to take a strategic and multi-platform approach to make this work. That's a big shift from, I think, the origins of traditional PRM, which was more about a single system that could do everything. And that's the other huge shift we saw at Web Infinity, and really what we're embracing at 360.
Peter, I want to bring you into this. We got a great question from Greg. What are the top 3 mistakes companies make when trying to implement PRM? I mean, you guys have got great platforms, but if the business behind it isn't good, it's never going to work. So what are the top 3 mistakes and how do you overcome them?
So, I'm going to address, this is a pretty loaded question. So one of the important things when you think about portals, and from our perspective, it is a gateway to an ecosystem, So, and when you think about it, what is a portal? It's basically portal has got many different aspects to this. One is you should be able to access tools and content. Portal also allows you to provide data that you really need to run your business. And also it provides you messaging, some information about the business, and also about your performance metrics. And also Portal acts as a gateway to other applications. Now, as you can see here, there's a lot of stuff going on. Now, when you're designing this platform and thinking about PRM, the first question you need to think about is, what other entities do I need to bring as part of the ecosystem? Is just the partners? Or do I need to really bring CAMs, PAMs, all working together? Do I need to bring alliances? What other sales entities are there in my ecosystem? Understanding the requirements and connectivity is the most important aspect. There was a question asked about how the portals will facilitate this. You need to have a collaboration going on across all these different entities. So when you're designing a PRM, don't just think about the partners. You need to really think about all other entities coming together to solve this problem. Then you need to think about systems that you want to connect with. Because at the end of the day, it's the ease of doing business. How many hops the partners are jumping to find that data? Are they going to a different system for invoicing and commission? Are they going to a third-party system to get the ordering information? It all have to come together in one single spot. Could be cases, support tickets. So you need to think about what other entities the system is interacting with and what partners need to run to do the business with you. And then also the important aspect is how do you drive the engagement with the partner, making sure, the performance metrics or some gamification and driving that engagement. So the many different aspects you have to consider when you're thinking about creating a PRM or the next gen partner enablement platform.
Rod, one of the questions that that you've asked us to consider is what we've seen change in the portal space, in the last little while. And one of the things that I've seen is a growing concern for the analytics behind your portal. In other words, people spend so much time thinking and worrying about the customer journey on their corporate website, and they run Google Analytics to see, where people are clicking and how the journey flows through your corporate website. But so many people have as their front end to the partner community SharePoint drive or something that's not optimized for that. I think Harbinder makes a great point, which is, as concerned as you should be about your customer journey through your corporate website, your indirect channel typically represents, more than half of your revenue. You should spend more than half of your time worrying about what that journey feels like and how your partners, run Google Analytics on your portal and see how many clicks it takes for people to get where they want, and do your heat mapping on it. Worry so much about that partner journey, become obsessed about how easy are you. We hear all the time, the way to win business is to be the easiest company to do business with. And so, if you can make it easy for people to get 1-2 clicks to the data that they want, regardless of the type of partner they are they an influencer, a referral provider, a strategic alliance partner, regardless of who they are, how many clicks does it take for them to find what they're looking for? And then you become the easiest company to do business with.
Well, and I'll tag on to what Dave's saying. Can your partners even find your portal? I mean, that's where it starts. I gave a task to someone on my team last week. I said, here's a client website. I said, go to the .com. I said, find their partner portal. 5 minutes later, after he typed partner portal in the search box, did he get a search result to find where it was? Because it was so buried among the corporate website that it wasn't clear. So if you're really into partnerships and you really want to build an ecosystem, it must be something that people can find and it's easy to get to. So if you don't have it in your top navigation and you've got it buried under, a couple of drop downs, how are people even going to know that you care about partnering and that you care about this ecosystem? I mean, I think that that's pretty telling about what a company thinks about those types of relationships.
And if I can pick up on that with you, Reagan, because I was talking to the CEO of a partner company the other day, and they said we're on a particular vendor's advisory board. And they said, and they just launched a new partner management technology. It's the way he expressed it. He said, and we're on the advisory board, and I spoke to all the other advisory board members and asked how many of us had been asked about the technology before it was launched, and the universal answer was none of us. How do you, when and how do you bring, this is about making it easy for the partners, about giving them what they want. When and how do you bring them into that process?
Any and every way you possibly can. One of the things you asked us to come with was like, what is the one thing that people should be thinking about? And it's getting your partner feedback early and often. And we do hundreds of these implementations. And oftentimes we're asking our clients, like, why are you doing this? Well, because we think, and they don't know what the partners actually want. And so if you can go ask your partners what they want, then it's more likely that you're going to land in your technology stack the things that they actually care about. And all too often, to Rod's point, it's, well, we think this is what the partners want, or this is what we want for the partners. And if you were to go out and do a poll across, who are you trying to service with the technology? That's number one, the who. And then what do they want? Like, what do they care about? What drives their business? Partners are free agents. They're not getting paid by you. They're only making money when they're selling or servicing an offering. So you really have to make sure that your tech stack is delivering the things that the partners care about, not what your marketing team cares about or your channel team cares about, but really what those partners need to drive their business. And if
Stop
you can,
assuming.
boom, you should have everything in the right places.
Yeah.
James, if I can bring you in, because there are obviously many people in the partner organization, there are many different kinds of people that you want in your ecosystem. How do you get to the point where you can serve the information tailored to the individual who's coming into the platform?
Yeah, so I think your wording was optimal in the sense of individual is key. It's the person, the individual role of that person. So the organization that they're associated with obviously matters, because that will help you understand the context of the relationship. So if it's a particular type of partner, that's part of the profiling, but the individual needs of the user is key. And I think to think about that, we have to take a lesson from the consumer world, where a lot of the supply and demand is managed by the person themselves. So if we're trying to maintain databases on thousands of people who we think we understand what's useful for them, it's very challenging, number one, to maintain that data, and secondly, to second guess what's important to every type of user. So instead, we can change that paradigm to the user defining more of their own needs. So this is where I think tech personalization and automation comes in, where you can have somebody really through that profiling or that kind of alignment do more of a give to get type of mentality, where they're the ones explaining what they're trying to achieve, their role, their region, whatever it is that's important, and then automating the provision of what they need against those requirements. Because frankly, it's much better to give somebody 4 or 5 pieces of content and 2 or 3 different workflows than it is to overwhelm them with a whole load of things that are irrelevant. But I think we can only do that by, similar to how platforms like LinkedIn and Facebook work, each person is maintaining one data record each, rather than us trying to maintain thousands of data records. And this is increasingly important when you get into more complex ecosystem motions where there could be multiple people involved, because there isn't really any one owner technically. It's like who's who and how do we collaborate together more around an activity or emotion. And we have to stop treating partnerships as just generic tiering and levels, because the truth is it's the motions of partnering that can be personalized, not partnerships in general, because there's just too many different motions ongoing.
And the motions change not only on a partner by partner basis, but an almost deal by deal basis. The go-to-market partner who is the pre-sales consultant on one deal is the post-sales deployment expert on the next deal. And if you don't have a program and access to the program, which is the way I think of the portal, it's access to your program, it's the front door of your program. If you don't have a program flexible enough to deal with that, you're going to make it tough to do business.
Absolutely. And I think that speaks to the moving in real time and at the speed of the business. You made the point in the chat, Dave, about the goal of a partner portal is not to launch it and tick a box and say, we just built a partner portal. That's more like what you do with a website, but this is a breathing, moving, ever-changing landscape. And only by having lots of people doing a little often and having technology that can move at the speed of the business can you actually keep up with the demand of the end users. And I think automation is key to this, because to your point, if you understand the context of a deal, an opportunity, etc., those are variables that can help automate ease of experience, right? But nobody could do that manually. So there's a whole load of efficiencies you can bring with technology, but it all starts from mapping out those personas, those user journeys, and putting people in control of their own engagement experience, because without that, you have no chance of this really scaling.
So I would like to add one thing here. One thing we're not addressing, the big elephant in the room here, is a partner has access to 20 different portals. Okay. And coming back to Reagan's point, if you're a partner-led organization, obviously you're putting a link all the way in the footer or somewhere three links down, and nobody can find your partner portal. But let's think about this. Even if you have this right in front of you, on the main page, the banner, access my partner portal, this is what the program looks like. Still, we have this fundamental problem. Partners have to go to 10 different portals or 20 different portals. How do we solve that problem? Obviously, we're talking about, making the portal easier inside all the tools and everything. That is great. Now, one of the things that, this is for the last 26 years, me doing it, I've been trying to figure this out, how to solve this problem. Now, one of the ways to solve this, bring the information, the tools, and the access to the portal where the partners are working. Bring it to them versus partners coming to you. That's another way of looking at solving this problem. And that's a new way of looking at it. For example, have a Chrome plugins, a plugins that sits on your browser. You can just one click away, you're in the portal, or you have access to the content and tools right in your browser. Why do I have to go to another website? I can, on my Chrome or Safari, whatever I'm using, I have access to the portal right there. The other way of looking at it is, if I'm doing a deal reg, why can't I do a deal reg via my email or Slack? Or I can do this stuff, I can get access to the information easily. So there's a different way of looking at it. The other part is, have the portal or the platform be completely headless. That means it is something is modular, that you can embed this in your CRM or other environments that you use currently. So it makes it easier for partners to interact and do business with you. So I'm just trying to see if this is one of the most important problems that we're not trying to address. That's what I see in the industry today.
Reagan, how do you think people should go about addressing that? Because there is the perennial problem. How do you get partner mind share? And particularly if you are a smaller vendor, you're one of perhaps 10 or 12 people involved in a solution, and you're not one of the top 3 or 4. What's your guidance for folks like that?
Well, I'm with Harbinder. I think that the ultimate goal would be there's a place where partners go and it's easy for them, right? And I know that there's some tech out there that's aggregating partner portals, and a partner can log in and they can pin all the different portals they have, and they can click to it and then get into any and all partner portals, whether it's via SSO or putting in their username and password. And I think that's what people on the call should be thinking about today, regardless of the tech that they're using for their portal. But can you make it easier for your partners? Because they have probably 20 portals. And if I have to remember every single URL, or I have to go bookmark them all, or I have to go on your website and find it, heaven forbid, buried 10 deep links deep, that's not good. But if I can go to one place and then I can potentially register to become a partner of your program because I didn't know about it, and that's an opportunity there, or I can just get to the different portals from one place, I think that is what makes it easy for partners. And all too often we're thinking self-centeredly, like, well, I don't want them to register on my competitor's portal too. I don't want it to be that easy for them to select multiple vendors and do a multiple deal reg out of a system. Maybe we need to rethink our thinking, because at the end of the day, the partners are going to do it anyway. And if we just make their jobs easier, maybe that's more time they can spend selling our products or taking our solutions to market. But it needs to be easier for them. And if we can shift the focus to how they run their business and meet them halfway or all the way, I think that's where the future should be headed when I think about partnering. And I'm even seeing things where partners are going into their partner portals. They're setting up bots to pull data out of them and into their systems. So I've seen some really cool things. Now, I'm going to guess that some of that might be against some of your partner agreements, but that's the kind of stuff that these partners are thinking about as they're trying to make it easier for them to do business with you. They're doing the extra work.
Yeah, I think
as we move forward, sorry, go on, James.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just going to add a couple of thoughts. I mean, one of the real challenges, and it's a long-standing one, is that when you're dealing with partner-facing technology, you have a private responsibility, you know, that's very, very nuanced to your own private architecture. So, for example, if you're trying to run a complex program around incentives management or funds distribution, or you're dealing with multi-step CPQ processes, the industry in general has no standards, right? There's no centralized way of exchanging this information. There's no common ground for any of this stuff. So most of what happens is more tokenism, like we're describing here, where people are putting links in each other's intranet sites, or they're scraping technologies and so forth. So I think you have to be realistic in the practical realities of this too. There's a lot of folks coming out saying you don't need a partner portal. I think the way you have to think about it in this era, as we still continue to look at why are there no standards and why has nobody solved this bigger problem of how do you create consistency across different organizations, is how can you embrace some of the new technologies that are enabling multi-vendor solutions, but take that on from a private responsibility point of view. So I'll give you an example. You know, we're working with a lot of the account mapping technologies where people can exchange databases of how they have overlap in their different accounts, or it's maybe when you're trying to create joint business plans with 2 or 3 different partners. So within your own private partner portal, you can create the value drivers and the traffic that weaves those solutions into your own onboarding processes. So for example, step 1 is map your account data using Crossbeam or Reveal or Workspan or whatever it is. But these are the real world ways we do it, I think, because there is no magic solution to this where suddenly there's one partner portal where all the vendors are signed up, and all of the small projects that try to attempt that fail because they don't get the traction, there's no adoption, and the truth is people still gravitate to the mega vendors where they need to do business. So nobody's leaving the Microsoft partner portal tomorrow to migrate to a startup, right? So this is the practical reality of where we are in the industry right now, and I think you've got to try to think about practical solutions, but start to embrace some of the newer technology that can get you further to this vision of, you know, working across multiple companies. And the other issue is who owns it, right? If you're doing multi-vendor solutions, who's the owner? Who's the orchestrator? Who's the person in the middle who's responsible? Because like anything that's done by committee, unless someone's responsible in the center, it's a mess. It just falls apart. That's the challenge.
You're in essence, you're looking for somebody to build a shopping portal that aggregates Amazon and Walmart together into one shopping experience. That's a very tough solution to have a single owner for. Right,
absolutely. And the thing I would add to what you said, James, is, you know, having said that, the resourcing piece is key. And, you know, if you think you're going to add in the account mapping, partner tab, Reveal, Crossbeam, you better have a programmatical approach to that of why it's important, the value out of the partner, how it's going to work. And don't just think you're going to plug that in and the magic's all going to happen. Like, it takes work and thought and resourcing around it to make that actually land with partners and have it have any value.
What impact do you think? Let me bring Dave into this, James, for a second. Dave, what impact will AI, do you think, have on this?
Yeah, it's a great question, Rod. I don't think that anybody really knows how to predict that yet. And I don't just mean anybody on the panel, I mean really anybody. What we're seeing is, obviously a lot of people use generative AI. I think there's good value to that. I personally use generative AI to proofread all my stuff. I say, please proofread this document, suggest changes, but don't change anything. And so I do a lot of that. But that's not really what I think the value behind AI is. I think AI is a tool for simplifying and automating. And I think it can actually be a tool, and I don't mean just to apply it to portals, but since we're talking about portals, I would say it can be a tool to help make your company easy to do business with by knowing partner types, by guessing and predicting what they're looking for and simplifying access to it. In some ways, it really is no different than what we used to call the Netflix viewing experience, right? Where somebody lands on my portal. We think of the portal, by the way, as the watering hole. We always want people to come back to the portal because that's how you communicate with your community. But we want somebody to land on the portal, and we want an AI engine or some predictive engine to be able to say, hey, because you've got these 3 deals open in these different verticals, we think you may like this content. And because last time we gave you this type of content and it helped close the deal, here's 2 more pieces of content just like that. And so, being aware of what's happening, being aware and tracking what people are looking for, and being able to predict how best to solve the solution of what people are looking for when they land on your portal. These are the things that we think that AI is going to do. Where it goes beyond that, Skynet, don't know yet.
Harbinder, you've been working with AI for a long time. What impact do you think it's going to have?
I've spent almost 7 years in AI business personally, and if you look at the journey, we're talking about ML. That's the traditional AI. So this, generative AI, deep learning has just made it more commoditized by OpenAI. But if you think about recommendation engines you need for business, for asset recommendation or any content or training recommendation, that technology has been there for years. It is the new stuff, the deep learning that has become commodity that anybody can have access to. That is something recent. But if you think about AI in the context of partner ecosystem, there are many ways that you can actually implement AI, has been implemented. So obviously from content asset recommendation, accessing data. So you don't really need deep learning system. You can just build your own ML, LLM model. That's something you can train with your own data set. When you have a minimal data set, use ML. When you're really dealing with a lot of data set, you go with the deep learning OpenAI model for generative content. So obviously for marketing, creating email templates, campaigns, asset, all about marketing side, you can use generative AI content. For accessing partner data, accessing information, use prompt-based data access. You can use a small LLM model, or you can use ML around it. So the other part what I see here is the basically hyper-personalizing the experience of a partner. Because now there are so many tools available that can take the text to voice. So you can come in, you can really hyper-personalize as the partner logs in, walks them through step-by-step process, and really hyper-personalize that journey. So using text to voice, automated video creation, helping create content and creating hyper-personalized experience, where I see AI going, in the partner side. Now, one of the important things that I want to add here is we all talk about AI. The guy who mows my lawn, he was asking me the other days, and he was asking me questions about ChatGPT. I was thinking, the ChatGPT, OpenAI is going to become a commodity like a cell phone. Everybody is going to have it. What is going to separate a business from another business is human touch. So one of the things that we're doing as a company, AI is going to solve, and one of the important things is use AI and automation tool to fully automate partner program. You can literally automate partner portal, partner enablement, partner marketing through AI and automation. That has really been our main focus, but make the CAMs enabled and focus on human touch and relationship, because that is going to be the next competitive edge. We're going to forget about human touch in a couple of years from now. And so that is really, we should be doubling down, thinking and planning that how we can interact and work with the partners, and more one-to-one relationships that CAMs can build and give them the tools to do that.
Reagan, I suspect most of the people on the call have an existing partner portal of some kind or another. suspect most of the people on the call are sitting here going, okay, how do I make that better? How do I make it more effective? That's why they've come to the latest thinking on partner portals. If I'm looking at my existing portal, what's your advice? How do I go about assessing what it's doing and really understanding what I need to do to move that forward?
Well, as I mentioned before, first you got to talk to your partners and find out what's working for them and what's not working for them. The number two, I go get someone who has no clue what's going on in your partner world and sit them in front of it and ask them to do whatever you think is your top 5 things. And then just watch them and see how easy it is for them to accomplish those tasks. And then from there, you should have some homework. But I would get in, if you got some budget, get an independent assessment. We work with a lot of customers post-implementation to optimize their portals, and 9 times out of 10, we can give them a laundry list of things just by looking at the homepage. Just ways to make it easier for partners to get in and get the things that they can do. If I could give you one recommendation, it would be to make sure that anything that you think that partners need to get to use on a daily basis or most frequently they should be able to get to it with a button or a one click right off of your homepage. And if that's not doable today, then you've got some work to do. But ask your partners, see if what you've delivered to them is what they have in mind or what they actually care about. And if it's not, chart a course to course correct it.
James, picking up on that, how do you measure customer satisfaction with the portal? What's your guidance?
I think the best way to measure it is in the actual data and the trends of adoption itself, because I think, yeah, of course you can do feedback surveys and partner NPS, but that's often a very small number of people are either, high advocates or large amounts of complaints, and it's very difficult to get a picture. But like any digital project, really, it's going to come down to what do we see in reality. So there's a lot of perspectives of my partner just comes in to do deal registration and all of this kind of stuff. But when you look at the data of adoption, we do what we call a health check methodology within our portal environments, where you're looking at all these metrics across multiple clients and how trends really mean something. Like, what is the level of interaction in different focus areas? How does that apply to different segments, different types of users? And what can you learn? Because again, as I was saying earlier, this is all around a complex supply and demand challenge. So in the same way that the algorithms of Instagram work out exactly what to pump to people, we have to start to try to take B2B in that direction, where we really understand if something's working, let's do more of it. If things aren't working, let's do less of it. Let's continually tune up our strategy based on the data and what it really tells us. And it's not an easy thing to do, because there's a million different data points, some which mean things, some which don't, and everybody's behavior can be different. But that's really the key, I think. It's look at the actual data, not the subjective opinions of people.
Drill down into that for you, James. If the people on the call were going to look at 3 or 4 data points, what would those specific data points be? Will at least give them a good impression of what the heck's going on.
Well, I think one way to segment it at the highest level is try to separate the way you look at your data between the have-tos and the want-tos, right? So there's a lot of have-to behavior in partner portals. I have to come here to register MDF request. I have to come here to put in a deal registration. And the perspective you get from a lot of partners is that's punitive, similar to what Harbinder said. I have to go to 20 different places and do deal reg in 10 different ways. And so there's another type of engagement data, which is much more about want-tos that show intent beyond the have-tos, which can be more about consumption of information, learning about programs, self-paced enablement. But the biggest way to drive the have-tos is with incentives and really recognizing people's efforts and driving behavior and rewarding it. So if you can say to somebody, take a look at our partner program agenda and please submit 3 feedback points, we'll give you 10 reward points for that. Or please come and do our lunch and learn series. And it's not really about what they get, it's the recognition of that investment. And often enablement and engagement behavior is a forward indicator of revenue. So if you start to invest in those types of behaviors and you almost net out the have-to stuff, you'll be surprised how little engagement there often is when you take the have-to data out of it. and you'll start to focus more on what you can do better to provide much better qualitative experiences that recognize business development with partners and true relationship building outside of just those transactional processes that they have to do, right? Because we all live and die on the, those things. If it wasn't for deal registers, sometimes people wouldn't even go in the portal. That's the reality of it. So we have to get better at that, and we have to look at the data associated with that more clearly.
So coming on measurement and metrics, what are the keys for you guys?
Yeah, so there's so many different metrics that you can track. Clearly, revenue production is a big one, and it's harder and harder to track revenue production across non-transacting partner types. But in the same way that we do revenue attribution in the marketing world, where did that demand come from? Was it an email? Was it a Google paid ad? Was it whatever? You can do revenue attribution. I've read some really good documents from Forrester on how to do revenue attribution across a very broad ecosystem. So it's possible to do. That's critical. But one of the metrics that I keep coming back to, and again, since the dialogue is meant to be around portals, I will tell you that, first of all, it's exciting to be having the dialogue around partner engagement, because I see in the partnering world that none of this is really new. We're kind of lagging behind direct business, but in the same way 5 years ago, marketing and sales went to kind of tech stack build out. In the indirect space, it's now all around tech stack build out. What tech tools do you have that are available to people, and can you aggregate them? I personally believe 2023 and 24, these are the years of efficiency and integration. Can I provide the most efficient access to the tools people need, and can I integrate multiple things together? But Reagan said it so well a minute ago. You would never consider rolling out a broad redesign of your company's corporate website without sitting down in front of a focus group and running it past them and tracking people and saying, how many clicks did it take you to find what you're... But so many people don't have that level of focus on the interface, on the front door that they're providing to their partnering community, and they need to focus on that. Do what you do in the direct space. In the indirect space, do focus groups, survey people, NPS. Somebody said NPS. I love NPS. All of the things that you would normally do. Manage your tech stack carefully, provide great integration so that people don't have to log in multiple times to multiple tools. We've got IDP tools that make it easy to do that. So all of those things need to come together. The one thing that I don't mean to, the one thing I would add to this is, don't lose sight of partner engagement through your portal. It is critical. Your portal is the watering hole that you engage with your indirect community through. It may not be as cool of a topic as it was a couple of years ago. It may not sound as exciting, but you need a watering hole to engage with your partnering community. We do newsletter. We have a product that does newsletters, and everybody says, oh, I don't need a newsletter product because I can just send my newsletters through Marketo or whatever. That's not the point. The point is, you've got to be able to reach out into your partner community and grab their attention and pull it back to your portal. If you've got spiffs, if you've got a product that you're trying to promote with some special pricing, if you've got new terms and conditions you're rolling out, you have to draw your partners back into that watering hole so that they know what's happening. We see newsletters as a great way to do that. Send a newsletter to people. It lands in their inbox, so they see it in their email, right? And then you can do whatever you want with the, clickbait titles. New terms to our partner program. Number 3 will blow your socks, and they have to click on it to read that, and that brings them right back to the portal. You've got to keep drawing them in. You've got to keep drawing them in.
Binder, you wanted to come in on that one.
No, I a couple of things. The first question you asked about, how do you measure partner engagement? What are the different ways of measuring it? So we have 3 ways of looking at it, partner engagement. One is the partner's interaction with your brand. So that is your corporate website, looking at your corporate newsletter, corporate communication. When you do 2-partner communication, our partners are actually attending your webinar. Our partners are coming to your website. So we look at that data set. That is one data set. The second data set is our partners engage with your portal inside the tools that you're offering. So we have measure engagement. We have scoring models that you can create based on login, asset consumption, deal reg, number of deal regs, whatever the different activities you want partners to perform. The third aspect here is the actual interaction on the portal pages. So partners coming in, looking at a partner portal page or going to secondary pages, how much time they're spending, where are they going from there? Looking at that behavior is the combination of these three key elements will actually give you a pretty decent insight to if the partner is engaged with your brand in your portal and the tools. And as James mentioned, that this is a leading indicator to your revenue, then you know exactly they're going to be selling your product or not. And I 100% agree with Dave, that a lot of tools that we provide to direct sellers and enablement, how we measure, and we actually do not provide the similar set of tools when it comes to indirect. I would say for the last 26 years, guys, that is really what I'm trying to focus on, provide the same set of tools that we provide to direct sellers, the enablement tools, the playbooks, sales automation, and make that available to the partners as well. Same content between inside and outside. Do not bring everybody at the same level. That is really the big focus for us.
Now, we're almost out of time, so I'm going to finish with the same question for each of you. And Dave, I'm going to start with you. And that is, what is the one piece of advice? I'm looking at my partner portal. I want it to be state of the art. I want it to really deliver for my partners. What's the one piece of advice you've got for the audience?
Rod, I want to give you a really deep, well thought through strategic response, but I actually find that I'm drawn to making a very simple, pragmatic suggestion. Run Google Analytics on your partner portal. Put the code in your partner portal that exposes the use data to GA and look at it and see what's happening. Do the flow mapping to see how people move through your portal. Look at the traffic per page. Run the heat mapping that you can do. If it's heat jar or just GA, run the heat mapping that you can do. You'll find that you've got things below the fold that are getting more traffic than things you have above the fold. That just means you're making it hard for people to find what they're looking for. I mean, it's very simple and it's very pragmatic. It's very rubber meets the roadie, but run Google Analytics on your portal and see how it's being used.
James, final piece of advice from you.
I'm going to go the other way and give the deep strategic piece instead. So look, I think the number one is you've got to take a step back from the technology, because there's a reason why after 20 years of doing this, nobody still has built an amazing partner portal that's fully integrated to all systems and tools. It's a very hard category. And I think the nature of the problem is changing significantly. And even thinking about a partner portal in isolation is part of the challenge, right? Because ecosystems aren't just about partners. It connects all the people, all the platforms, all the processes. So the number one thing I think ecosystem leaders need to do now, which obviously consumes channel as a subset of ecosystem, is you've got to take that step back and look at the bigger challenge that's ahead, right? Because I think just continuing to do the same things we've always done, implement switching from one PRM to another, moving between different tools and systems and expecting different results, it isn't working, right? So I think most people would say there's a problem here that no one's solving the way they hope they want to. Nobody's got all these integrated reports, dashboards, business intelligence, AI things. We've got to recognize that this whole approach is failing. So I think that's what I did 5 years ago at Web Infinity. So we've got to do something different. We've got to build a different type of technology. We've got to team up with others who see that vision. 360 Insights is the center of that shift in the industry. So you've got to start there. You've got to take a step back, because just rush into improving the status quo isn't going to fix the bigger issue of the transformation that's going on in our businesses.
Reagan.
Well, I agree with James in that you don't blame the tech, because the tech can do it. You just have to put the work into it. But if I were going to give you one thing, and this is probably a pretty hard accomplishment to take, it would be one, don't assume that your categorization for your partners is accurate, because we're trying to bucket people into these boxes, and those boxes are pretty confined. So if you can create a portal in which your partners have control over how how their experience is, whether that's in their profile, they can turn things on and off. But I would say look for the opportunity to give your partner some control over their experience so that they can customize it to meet their needs, because your assumption about them is probably wrong, what their business model is, at least to some extent. Maybe it's 20%, maybe it's 50%, but the blur of the lines between partner types and what they do has grown so much over the last year or two that those boxes of what type of partner are you in your application up front, what you call an MSP and what they think an MSP is could be completely different, or any other fill in the blank partner type. So don't assume your partner categorization is accurate, and give your partners control over their experience.
It's all about the persona, Reagan. It's what people have been doing on persona understanding, you know, for years in the corporate space. Understand your partner personas. You've got to do it. That's good.
Yep.
Harbinder, last
You know,
thought from you.
being the last, I would say I agree with everybody. My response is Dave's and James and Reagan's response all together. But I will absolutely say one thing. A lot of times when people come to us and looking for partner portal, I said, you really don't need it. Okay. It is, don't implement the tech just for sake of implementing it. Okay. And that is the first thing. Implement the tech. And the second important part, which is really where we're as a company evolved into more an ecosystem, look at the long-term value that you want to create out of this ecosystem. Look at all the entities will be participating in this. What is good for the customer? If it's a co-sell, co-service, what are the entities? Look at from a big picture perspective. Coming back to James' point, that's how we should be looking at. Tech is there. I'm telling you, tech is there today. Get tech and automate, do everything. Important thing is understanding who are the players. You want to bring alliances, you want to do solution selling, and you want to bring other strategic partners who can do co-service. And the second important aspect where Reagan talked about is the data, partner attribution and profiling. That is what drives the automation, personas, personalization. Lack of that, nothing works in the ecosystem. More you understand the data, and then the people you want to invite to the ecosystem, what is right for the customer is the marriage of these two, but actually finally define what if your ecosystem is going to be successful or not. And the other important aspect I would say here is bring the internal stakeholders, the CAMs, PAMs, enable them, bring them into the mix of this partner ecosystem, because they really need more tools to basically to interact and engage and drive engagement with the partners.
Fabulous. Dave, James, Reagan, Harbinder, thank you very, very much indeed. And a reminder for everyone on the call, a lot of what we've been talking about is understanding what people want. There is a survey coming up as you leave the webinar. Please do take 2 or 3 minutes, complete that survey. But once again, Dave, James, Reagan, Harbinder, fabulous advice, fabulous contributions. Thank you all very, very much indeed.
Thank you.
You know.
We will now close the webinar.